First, I look around at nature. I look at nature, and it declares that there's a designer. Design has to have a designer. And if you look at nature, just look at everything outside. If we were 10% closer to the sun, we would burn up and there would be nothing that could sustain life. If we were 10% further away, we would freeze and we wouldn't be able to sustain life. I look at the order of animals, the food chain, the way that the animals live, that if you take certain animals out of that food chain, then all the animals die. And you just think about that. How is that possible? The food chain. Fruits and vegetables, water, things that are there to sustain life. Oxygen. If oxygen was just a little bit higher, a few percentage points higher, it would be too much. If it was just a little bit lower, it wouldn't be enough. We couldn't sustain life. So design calls for a designer. Look at the DNA in our body. That is it's a sequence code of numbers put together. It calls for a designer. You look at remedies, medicine in nature. Where did that come from? Is it just happenstance? We just got lucky? I mean, because if you're looking at that, that's several levels of just getting lucky. It's designed that way. God put it that way. He made it that way. You might say, yeah, God, maybe there is a God, but why is it the God of the Bible? Why would it be the God of the Bible? Well, Muslims call Jesus a great prophet. They call him a sinless man who was born of a virgin. Hinduism believes Jesus was a holy man, a wise man of God. Buddhism, they call Jesus a holy man, an enlightened man, and a wise teacher. All these religions talk about Jesus. They all affirm that Jesus was a wise man, great teacher. But the Bible tells us that he was the Son of God and that he came here to eradicate sin. We now have over 5,800 early Greek New Testament, 2nd and 3rd century manuscripts or pieces of manuscripts, 10,000 Latin manuscripts, and over 9,000 other language 2nd and 3rd century manuscripts. And guess what? They're 99.9% exactly the same as the Bible that I'm holding right here. Over 2,000 years, God has preserved His Word. He preserves His Word. You can rely on the Bible that what the first century Christians were reading is the same thing we're reading right now. Places in the Bible that archaeologists said didn't exist, they keep popping up over and over and over. They said, well, that doesn't exist. That was in the Bible, but that's not even there. They start digging, and guess what? It was there. It was there. Now, you can say that because of that, the Bible is historically accurate. It's historically accurate. Over 300 Old Testament prophecies that God would reveal Himself through a man. People were waiting for years and years for this man to show up. They started to lose hope. Then a man named Jesus came on the scene. And he claimed to be that guy. He fulfilled those 300 prophecies. From where he would be born to where he died. And the way he died. Crucifixion. It's a capital punishment in Rome. But do you know that the Old Testament talked about crucifixion before it was ever even invented? Before they even knew that was a way that a person could die, it was predicted in the Old Testament. And do you know that we have copies of an Old Testament more than 250 years before Jesus was born? So you can't say, well, Jesus, they just wrote it after the fact. No, it doesn't happen. He told his disciples he was going to die, but that he was going to come back. No one has ever accomplished that. He predicted that he would die and that he would come back, and guess what? He was dragged off by the Roman soldiers and he was put to death. His followers scattered. They ran away in fear. They were like, we're wrong. This whole time, this man we've been following, he died. He got killed. It's over. But 3 days later, something incredible happened. the man that they witnessed die came back to life. He came back to life. His followers came back together and went out into the world to witness about what they experienced. Why would they do that? There was no riches to gain. They went against their own culture, and their culture hated them for it. They suffered persecution in prison, but they never gave up on the mission. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? They almost all died a martyr's death. No one dies for a lie, for a known lie. People might die for their belief, but no one, knowing that it's a lie, would go to their death. And that's exactly what these disciples did. They willingly died. For what? Because the man that they saw die came back to life. That's why I believe that the Bible is reliable. And when he died, when he came back to life, he defeated death and sin. And it's this easy to put your faith in him. It's simple, right? It's not complex. You might say, well, I'm not ready yet. I gotta get right with God before I do that. You know, I gotta get my life in order because I'm not living right. If you wait till you're right, it'll never happen.